I watched my father murder my mother when I was 5 years old. For 20 years, Jennifer believed this with absolute certainty, until police records proved her mother died in a car accident while her father was 300 miles away. Jennifer's mind had created a perfect false memory, complete with sounds, smells, and emotional trauma. While dramatic, Jennifer's experience reflects a broader vulnerability to memory distortion when powerful suggestion techniques are used. Studies of suggestive techniques in therapy find that roughly 1/5 to half of participants may form false events under hypnosis or guided imagery. In legal cases, such false memories have contributed to wrongful accusations where no physical evidence existed. Today, we reveal how these nightmare memories form and why they feel so terrifyingly real. The Perfect Fabrications, Case Studies of False Memories. False memories don't just exist in theory. They've shattered real lives. Consider Sarah, a woman who spent nearly 4 years in intensive therapy recovering memories of ritual abuse that extensive police investigations later proved physically impossible. Sarah's journey began when she sought help for mild depression and anxiety. Her therapist suggested these symptoms might indicate repressed trauma and began using techniques like hypnosis and guided imagery in their sessions. Psychotherapy research finds guided imagery techniques can induce false events in around 1/3 of participants. Yet these methods were presented to Sarah as ways to unlock hidden truths her mind was protecting her from. At first, I just had vague feelings of discomfort, Sarah explained in a recent interview. But after several sessions of hypnosis, I started seeing these vivid flashes. My father in a dark robe, other people in masks, strange symbols on the walls. These initial fragments soon expanded into elaborate scenes of underground ceremonies occurring in the basement of her childhood home. The memories Sarah recovered became increasingly detailed over time. Investigators later found her childhood home had no basement, and travel logs placed her father miles away during the alleged times. Yet to Sarah, these memories felt utterly authentic. I could smell the candle wax, she recalled. I could feel the cold stone floor against my skin. I remembered the terror so vividly that my heart would race just thinking about it. Her body responded with physical symptoms, trembling, sweating, and panic attacks, when confronted with triggers related to these memories. The consequences for Sarah's family proved catastrophic. Based on her recovered memories, her father was arrested and spent 18 months in jail awaiting trial. Her mother, forced to choose between believing her husband or daughter, suffered a nervous breakdown. Sarah's siblings became estranged, with some supporting her claims and others insisting on their father's innocence. The case collapsed when investigators discovered physical evidence making Sarah's claims impossible. School attendance records placed her in different locations during several of the alleged incidents. Most conclusively, her father's work travel records and hotel security footage confirmed his presence hundreds of miles away during multiple remembered events. This case highlights a critical aspect of false memory formation. Emotional trauma fundamentally alters how our brains process and store information. fMRI studies find high stress dampens prefrontal reality checking while amygdala-driven emotion takes over. This creates neurological conditions where suggestion can profoundly influence memory formation. In Sarah's case, her pre-existing anxiety and depression created neurological vulnerability. Her therapist's suggestive techniques then provided content for her brain to incorporate into false narratives that explained her emotional distress. Each time Sarah recalled these memories in therapy, her brain actually reconstructed them, adding new details that seemed to confirm their reality. The aftermath left Sarah with genuine PTSD symptoms from traumatic events that never occurred. She required years of evidence-based therapy to recover from both the original depression and the iatrogenic trauma caused by the false memories. The worst part wasn't learning my memories weren't real, Sarah said. It was realizing I destroyed my family over something that never happened. Sarah's experience reveals perhaps the most important insight about false memories. They aren't lies or deliberate deceptions. Studies reveal false and real memories trigger similar emotional circuits, making them indistinguishable in our subjective experience. The person recalling them isn't crazy, delusional, or dishonest. They're experiencing the very real consequences of how human memory actually works. But just how vulnerable are our memories to outside influence? The science behind memory manipulation reveals something even more unsettling. Manufacturing horror, the science of memory manipulation. Memory manipulation isn't just possible, it's disturbingly common. Using a staged theft scenario, researchers have induced false confession memories in roughly 1/3 to half of participants, creating detailed recollections of events that existed only in laboratory settings. This vulnerability to suggestion stems from how our brains naturally process information. Scientists study this using the Dees-Roediger-McDermott paradigm. In these experiments, participants see lists of related words like bed, rest, awake, and tired. Lab studies show that semantically related word lists, when controlled for association strength, produce false recall rates sometimes exceeding 50% due to our brain's gist-based reconstructions. Many participants confidently remember seeing the word sleep, even though it was never presented. Our minds automatically connect the dots, creating memories of things we never experienced. Think of memory not as a video recording, but as a puzzle your brain constantly takes apart and reassembles. Each time you recall something, your brain actually reconstructs that memory, potentially adding new pieces in the process. This reconstruction makes our memories frighteningly malleable. Elizabeth Loftus, a pioneering memory researcher, demonstrated this malleability in her groundbreaking work. Loftus showed that wording changes, the versus a broken headlight, skewed estimates of its presence and participants' confidence, illustrating how subtle phrasing can reshape memories. This phenomenon, known as the misinformation effect, reveals something truly unsettling. Information we encounter after an event comes incorporated into the memory of the event itself. We literally can't distinguish which details we actually experienced versus which were suggested later. In laboratory settings, researchers have successfully implanted entire false memories with alarming ease. Participants have been convinced they were lost in shopping malls as children, that they nearly drowned, or even that they met Bugs Bunny at Disneyland. An impossible encounter, since Bugs is a Warner Brothers character who would never appear at a Disney park. Yet participants recall these fabricated events with confidence, often adding their own embellishments. Scientists explain this through fuzzy trace theory. Our brains store two types of information: exact details, verbatim traces, and general meaning, gist traces. The problem? Those verbatim traces fade much faster than gist traces, leaving gaps that make us vulnerable to suggestion. When someone offers a detail that fits the general pattern, our brains readily accept it as part of the original memory. The most troubling aspect emerges when we consider emotional events. While moderate emotional arousal actually enhances accurate memory, high arousal, like during traumatic events, increases false memory formation. When we're terrified or in shock, the brain's mechanisms for accurate recording become impaired while our susceptibility to suggestion rises dramatically. This explains a persistent problem in criminal justice. Eyewitness testimony from crime victims is notoriously unreliable. The very emotional intensity that makes these memories feel vivid and convincing also makes them more prone to distortion. Victims often remember details with absolute certainty that video evidence later proves impossible. Physiological measures like skin conductance rise similarly for false and true memories, highlighting their visceral realism. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and you feel genuine fear or joy from events that never happened. Some fMRI research finds right dorsolateral prefrontal engagement increases during false recognition, suggesting extra monitoring effort. Evidence of your brain working harder to process information it subconsciously recognizes as problematic, yet consciously accepts as real. These findings force us to question the very foundation of our personal histories. If our most vivid, emotionally charged memories can be manipulated or even manufactured, how much of what we believe about ourselves is actually true? This unsettling reality forces us to reconsider the very foundations of our personal narratives. Our memories build who we are, yet as we've seen throughout Sarah's story, they bend and break with frightening ease. False memories highlight how our minds build reality and nightmares out of our own neural wiring. This isn't about dismissing all memories as lies, but approaching them with appropriate caution in critical situations like therapy and courtrooms. Encourage open questions and avoid leading phrases, techniques proven to reduce misinformation in eyewitness interviews. The next time you feel absolutely certain about a memory, remember this. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones created by our own minds.